Hello, this is Franklin Graham, and I just want to say thank you for your generous support and prayers as we take the gospel of Jesus Christ around the world.
Franklin Graham, one of the most prominent evangelical figures in America and the son of the legendary evangelist, Billy Graham, has spent decades preaching, leading, and speaking to millions across the globe. From massive crusades to high-profile media appearances, Graham has cultivated a reputation as a steadfast religious leader. Yet, recent events suggest that not all is well behind the pulpit. What was once perceived as a position of untouchable authority is now being challenged by controversies, public scrutiny, and personal missteps that have shocked many of his followers. In the past weeks, news outlets, social media, and religious circles have all been abuzz with reports about Graham's latest struggles. These challenges range from disputes within his organization to criticisms about his statements and decisions, leaving some questioning his leadership and the legacy he's building. Fans, congregants, and the public alike are asking, what happened to the man who once seemed untouchable? In the evangelical world, how did things reach a point where his reputation is now under intense examination? Graham's life has always been intertwined with both faith and public perception. As the son of Billy Graham, expectations have always been enormous, and every action has been magnified. While his father's legacy cast a long shadow, Franklin's journey has been marked by his own choices, decisions that have inspired, motivated, and sometimes angered millions. And now, for the first time in years, the focus is shifting from his preaching and charitable work to the personal and organizational struggles that threaten his position and credibility. The latest developments are raising questions that many have suspected but were hesitant to discuss. And the truth behind Franklin Graham's current situation is far more complicated, dramatic, and eye-opening than the headlines suggest. Franklin Graham has lived a life unlike most people could ever imagine. As the son of the legendary evangelist Billy Graham, he was born into a world of faith, expectation, and public scrutiny. From the very beginning, Franklin's life was shaped not just by his own ambitions, but by the legacy of one of the most influential religious figures in history. His father's sermons reached millions, and Franklin grew up observing the immense responsibility and scrutiny that came with such a role. It was clear early on that his path would not be simple or private. Every action, decision, and word would be noticed, analyzed, and judged by the public. For decades, Franklin carved out his own identity as a preacher, humanitarian, and public figure. He took over leadership roles in major religious organizations, led international missions, and traveled across the globe, spreading messages of faith. His work with Samaritan's Purse, the international relief organization, solidified his reputation as a man committed to helping others, and his sermons continued to draw thousands of devoted followers. Yet, with every triumph came immense pressure, the need to uphold a flawless public image, to honor his father's legacy, and to navigate the expectations of a devoted audience who measured him against a near-mythical standard. But even the most respected leaders face challenges behind the scenes. In recent years, Franklin Graham has found himself under increasing scrutiny. Questions about his leadership style, public statements, and organizational decisions have started to surface, sparking debates among supporters and critics alike. Some former staff members have hinted at internal disagreements, while media outlets have highlighted controversial moments that cast shadows on his public persona. The man who once seemed untouchable is now facing criticism from multiple directions, leaving his followers and the broader public wondering what is happening behind the scenes. Adding to the tension is the reality of living in a hyper-connected world. Social media amplifies every statement and decision, turning minor missteps into major controversies overnight. For Franklin Graham, this digital spotlight has made it difficult to maintain privacy or control over his narrative. Every comment he makes, every interview he gives, and every action he takes is dissected, debated, and sometimes distorted. This constant scrutiny has added pressure on him personally, professionally, and spiritually, testing his ability to lead without faltering. Even his closest allies acknowledge the challenges. Leading a religious organization, managing high-profile humanitarian work, and maintaining a public ministry is no small feat, but doing all of it under the weight of his father's legendary legacy adds another layer of complexity. For Franklin, it's not just about managing the organization or delivering sermons. It's about preserving credibility, faith, and authority in a world quick to question and slow to forgive. As recent events show, the combination of public scrutiny, internal organizational challenges, and personal pressures has brought Franklin Graham to a crossroads. What was once a steady, respected leadership role is now fraught with uncertainty, speculation, and growing concern from those who have followed his ministry for years. The truth behind these challenges is complex, involving a mix of personal decisions, public reactions, and organizational dynamics that few outside his inner circle fully understand. Now, as the controversies continue to mount, it is becoming clear that Franklin Graham's journey is entering one of the most challenging periods of his life. The question on everyone's mind is no longer about his past achievements, it's about his ability to navigate the pressures, criticism, and internal struggles that now threaten to define his legacy. In recent years, Franklin Graham has found himself under increasing scrutiny, both from the media and from within religious circles. While his father's legacy gave him a platform and credibility, it also placed him under an unrelenting microscope. Every decision he makes is compared to the near-perfect image of Billy Graham, and every statement is analyzed for its theological, social, and political implications. For a man whose life has been devoted to ministry and humanitarian work, the pressure to maintain an untarnished public image is immense. Several controversies have contributed to the growing concerns about Graham's leadership. His outspoken political statements have drawn criticism from both supporters and detractors, raising questions about the role of religion in political discourse. While some followers admire his willingness to speak candidly, others worry that such statements risk alienating members of his congregation and damaging the credibility of his ministry. For a religious leader, the balance between faith, personal beliefs, and public influence is delicate, and Graham's decisions have brought that tension into sharp focus. Compounding the public scrutiny are reports of internal conflicts within his organizations. Former staff members and insiders have hinted at disagreements over management styles, decision-making, and the direction of key initiatives. These reports, whether fully accurate or exaggerated, create a perception of instability and uncertainty that affects both followers and the general public. Even minor disagreements become magnified in the media, leaving Graham's reputation vulnerable to speculation and criticism. The rise of social media has only intensified these challenges. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram amplify voices that might have once gone unheard, allowing both support and criticism to reach global audiences instantly. Every sermon, every public statement, and every media appearance is scrutinized and often dissected for its deeper meaning, sometimes taken out of context. For someone in Graham's position, the pressure to carefully craft every word is constant, and even a small misstep can spark widespread controversy. Additionally, Franklin Graham faces the challenge of carrying forward a legacy while also establishing his own identity. Billy Graham was revered as the pastor to presidents, a figure of moral authority and spiritual guidance. Franklin's accomplishments are significant, but the shadow of his father's legendary reputation can make it difficult for the public to evaluate him on his own terms. Every action, both positive and negative, is inevitably compared to his father's example, adding layers of pressure that few outside the evangelical world can truly understand. Despite these challenges, Graham has attempted to maintain transparency and accountability, addressing criticisms when necessary and reaffirming his commitment to ministry and humanitarian work. However, the public and organizational pressures are relentless, and even his efforts to clarify or explain decisions often become fodder for further debate. It's a delicate balance, trying to lead effectively while navigating the complex dynamics of public perception, internal organizational politics, and the high expectations associated with his family name. Ultimately, the controversies surrounding Franklin Graham highlight the intense pressures faced by high-profile religious leaders. They remind us that while faith and dedication are essential, they do not shield anyone from criticism, internal conflict, or the personal toll of leadership. For Graham, the question is no longer just about what he has accomplished, it's about whether he can navigate the current storms without compromising his ministry, credibility, or the respect of those who look to him for guidance. Beyond public criticism and media scrutiny, Franklin Graham faces complex challenges within his personal life and organizational leadership, running large-scale religious and humanitarian organizations. Like Samaritan's Purse requires not just spiritual guidance, but also strategic management, logistical oversight, and financial accountability. While Graham has been celebrated for his hands-on approach and dedication to missions, insiders have hinted at growing tensions among staff, disagreements about priorities, and debates over leadership style. For a figure whose public image is rooted in unwavering faith and moral authority, such internal conflicts can be particularly damaging when they reach the ears of the public. One of the recurring issues appears to be the balance between religious messaging and operational management. Staff members have reportedly expressed concerns about decision-making processes, delegation, and transparency in key initiatives. While many admire Graham's vision and passion, some question whether the high-pressure environment and centralized leadership approach create unnecessary stress for employees, potentially affecting morale and productivity. These internal struggles, while often kept private, eventually trickle into the public domain, feeding narratives that things aren't going smoothly behind the scenes. On a personal level, Graham has also been navigating the weight of expectations that come with being a spiritual leader. In today's hyper-connected world, followers expect perfection, guidance, and unwavering consistency, while critics scrutinize every word or action for perceived flaws. Maintaining a sense of personal equilibrium in the midst of such pressures is incredibly challenging. Reports suggest that the cumulative stress of public scrutiny, leadership responsibilities, and familial expectations has begun to take a toll, creating moments of strain and exhaustion for Graham that his supporters have rarely witnessed before. These personal and organizational pressures intersect in ways that amplify the challenges Graham faces. For example, disagreements over organizational priorities can spark public controversy if decisions are leaked or misinterpreted, while personal missteps or lapses in judgment are magnified in the media spotlight. Even minor controversies can feel enormous when layered on top of the long-standing expectations associated with the Graham name. For Franklin, the stakes are especially high. He is tasked not only with leading religious initiatives, but also with preserving the moral and spiritual credibility that defines his public persona. Critics argue that these struggles are a natural consequence of the enormous influence he wields, while supporters emphasize the resilience and dedication Graham has shown throughout his career. Despite the controversies and internal tensions, many continue to respect his decades of service, his charitable work, and his commitment to spreading faith-based messages globally. The contrast between public admiration and behind-the-scenes challenges underscores the complex reality of leading a high-profile religious organization in the modern era. As Franklin Graham navigates this difficult period, the questions facing him are both personal and professional. Can he maintain authority and trust within his organizations while managing the pressures of public scrutiny? Will he be able to reconcile internal disagreements without compromising his vision or alienating followers? These challenges are not easy, and how he responds may well define the next chapter of his life and ministry. Ultimately, the struggles Franklin Graham faces serve as a stark reminder that leadership, faith, and influence come with immense responsibility, and that even the most prominent spiritual figures are not immune to personal, organizational, and public pressures. The coming months will reveal whether he can overcome these obstacles and restore stability, credibility, and confidence among followers and staff alike. As the controversies, criticisms, and internal struggles continue to mount, Franklin Graham finds himself at a critical juncture in his life and ministry. For decades, he has been a symbol of faith, perseverance, and charitable work, carrying on the legacy of his father, Billy Graham. But no legacy, no matter how revered, is immune to challenges, especially when leadership intersects with public scrutiny, organizational complexity, and the relentless pressures of modern media. Now, the question is not just about his past accomplishments, but about how he will navigate this defining moment and shape his future. Those close to Graham emphasize that he remains committed to his mission, both in preaching and humanitarian work. His dedication to serving others through initiatives like Samaritan's Purse has not wavered, and many supporters continue to admire his passion and tireless work ethic. Yet, even the most committed leaders must confront the realities of evolving organizational and public expectations. For Graham, this means addressing internal disputes, responding thoughtfully to criticism, and maintaining transparency and accountability in all his actions. Success in these areas will be crucial to preserving the trust of followers, staff, and the broader community. Public perception also plays a significant role in the path forward. Social media and news coverage have amplified every misstep and controversy, making it essential for Graham to engage strategically with both supporters and critics. Some observers suggest that embracing open dialogue, acknowledging mistakes when necessary, and demonstrating personal growth could help rebuild confidence in his leadership. Conversely, ignoring concerns or reacting defensively could exacerbate tensions, risking further damage to his reputation. Navigating this delicate balance will require not just spiritual guidance, but emotional intelligence, communication skills, and an awareness of the evolving cultural landscape. At the same time, Graham's personal journey is an important factor in determining how effectively he can move forward. Leaders, especially those in the public eye, are human and subject to the same challenges as anyone else: stress, fatigue, doubt, and the need for support. Family, close advisors, and mentors can play a critical role in helping him manage these pressures, providing perspective, guidance, and encouragement. For Franklin, leaning on these resources while remaining true to his faith and principles could prove essential in navigating this difficult period. Ultimately, Franklin Graham's future will be defined by how he responds to these combined pressures: internal organizational challenges, public criticism, and the high expectations associated with his family legacy. His ability to reflect, adapt, and demonstrate both accountability and resilience will determine whether he can maintain his influence and preserve the integrity of his ministry. While the current moment is undeniably challenging, it also offers an opportunity for growth, renewal, and the reaffirmation of the values that have guided his life and career. For followers, critics, and observers alike, the unfolding story of Franklin Graham serves as a reminder that leadership is never simple, and that even those who appear steadfast and unshakable are subject to the complexities of human experience. How he navigates this chapter will not only impact his personal legacy, but also influence the perception of religious leadership in a modern, highly connected world. In the end, Franklin Graham's journey is far from over. While things may not look good at the moment, the decisions he makes now about transparency, accountability, and leadership could define the next chapter of his life and ministry. Whether he emerges stronger, wiser, and more respected, or continues to face criticism and challenge, the world will be watching, judging, and hoping that a man who has devoted his life to faith and service can rise above the current storm and reaffirm the principles that have guided him for decades.